Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Hey folks, today is Friday, August 2nd, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Voting rights continue to be attacked in this country. Now the Fifth Circuit has issued a ruling that could further hurt the Voting Rights Act. We will explain. Also on today's show, yesterday I was in Houston for the funeral of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. I will show you some of the great eulogies that were paid to her, including Hillary Clinton, former President Bill Clinton, Vice President Kamala Harris, and many others. Also, history is made. Vice President Kamala Harris officially is the Democratic nominee for president. A virtual roll call took place today. We'll discuss that as well. Also, folks, the president of NABJ told Axios that Donald Trump, the reason he was late, had nothing to do with the microphones. It was because he objected to live fact-checking. Why did the president tell us that on Wednesday? We'll talk about that as well. Plus, you've seen a lot of these AI-generated songs by King Willonius. Well, we got him on the show. Folks, some of these songs are absolutely fantastic. We're going to talk about it right here on the show. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
No Valence. No. Folks, the continued attacks on voting rights continues by conservative federal judges. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, they made a significant ruling that will make it more challenging for Black and Hispanic voters to collaborate in forming voting coalitions in 3 southern states, Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. This decision will significantly impact the redrawing of voting districts, making it more difficult for minority voters to elect candidates representing their interests. The case, which originated from redrawing district lines in Texas's Galveston County, resulted in the dissolution of the only coalition district in the county, leading to a legal battle involving the Justice Department and voters. The Fifth Circuit ruled 12-6 against the language in Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Joining me right now, Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, political analyst. I'm glad to have all three of you here. Matt, I'll start with you. Here's the deal. The Fifth Circuit, Matt, you know quite well, extremely conservative. It's packed and loaded with conservatives. They have been attacking Section 2. What you have here, of course, with the decision in the Holder decision, Shelby v. Holder, that decision attacked Section 4. Clarence Thomas has always wanted to get rid of the Voting Rights Act completely. And so we're still seeing how conservatives, they want to get rid of the Voting Rights Act because they want to stop Black and Latino folks from being able to maximize their voting power?
Well, that's precisely what it is. There's no question. And, you know, it's difficult for me to speak as candidly as I'd like to because I have 2 cases currently pending in front of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals on which I submitted briefs in the last couple of weeks. So I should probably be a little tactful in what I'll say. I will say this directly. I think that the logic here is absolutely missing. This is meritless, as the court might say. And the reason is, the logic is if you have 2 discrete ethnic groups that are saying that, look, our voting rights are being eroded, the notion that the 2 of them cannot get together to vindicate their rights under the Voting Rights Act because the court found that it wasn't explicitly provided for by the statute is absurd. In fact, you would think the opposite would be true. This would be an instance where the court would say the fact that there are discrete harms that are being alleged by 2 individual ethnic groups under the Voting Rights Act should be given greater credence. The idea that it's an impact that is affecting 2 groups should make it such that the court sees the import of this case that much more. However, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, as we know, is by far the most conservative in the country. And unfortunately, this is yet another opinion in a string of recent opinions that has, one, not been upheld by the Supreme Court. So hopefully, if this is appealed, that will not happen, that the Supreme Court will allow this to stand. But secondly, this is more ideological than it is anything else. And really the logic that the statute does not expressly allow it, therefore we're going to say that it shouldn't carry the day here is bunk, because that's what they do every single time in civil rights cases when they apply qualified immunity, which is not expressly codified in the statute. So what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander, and that logic needs to extend across the board. And I suspect that that will not be extended in other instances where judge-made defenses like qualified immunity are being applied despite not being in the statute. So I don't think the logic tracks here. I think civil rights advocates are definitely right to be angry about this opinion, and I'm hoping if it does go to the Supreme Court will recognize that this is not a sound legal opinion and will send it back, overturning the Fifth Circuit.
Well, Michael, you and I don't have to be as discreet as Matt is. The bottom line is this here. These conservative federal judges are not following the law. They're legislating from the bench. They're pushing an ideological position, and that's what boils down to. They have been angry that black voters, when you look at the numbers, turn out at a higher rate in 2008 with President Barack Obama than any other time in history. And what we have seen since the election of Obama in 2008, we've seen a constant and vicious attack on voting rights in this country. This is the agenda of the Republican Party. This is what I talked about in my book, White Fear. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it's also part of Project 2025, okay, which is also attack on voting rights, attack on DEI, and you talk about Shelby County versus Holder, U.S. Supreme Court case 2013, and that was a backlash to 2012 when President Barack Obama was elected for a second term. And now, if I remember correctly, Roland, in 2012, percentage turnout for African Americans was 66.7%. And that was the first presidential election where the percentage turnout of African Americans was higher than the percentage turnout for white voters. Okay, so that scared the hell out of a lot of these white conservatives. And it's important for African Americans to understand how they attack us. Historically, when they would have race riots in our communities, whether we would talk about the Red Summer 1919, whether we talk about Rosewood 1923, whether we talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma 1921, they attack us in the courts. They attack us in the state legislatures, okay, to suppress the African-American vote. They came back with Shelby County versus Holder 2013. And if people go research that case, within 24 hours, you had states passing new voter ID laws within 24 hours. Because of Shelby County versus Holder, the 2016 presidential election, there were 868 fewer polling places. And a lot of those polling places that were closed in areas that had high African-American and Latino populations. So this is a continuation of that attack. If you need any evidence to understand the power of the African-American vote and why it's so important for us to vote strategically, pay attention to this right here, because this is Project 2025 being enacted in 2024. We have to fight back.
Yeah, and the thing here, Matt, again, we also have that Arkansas federal judge decision that said that organizations can't file lawsuits against regarding voting, that it has to be only the Department of Justice. So that means Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, Transformative Justice Coalition, NAACP, LDF, and others can't file these lawsuits. That's where most of the suits are filed from. This shows you how they are trying to attack voting rights in this country.
And that shows you that if you get another Jeff Sessions as Attorney General who's not inclined to vindicate people's voting rights, then those voting rights will go unvindicated. And that shows you that if the Supreme Court gives broad immunity to the executive branch and to the president, that he or she may do things through that Department of Justice that cannot be vindicated by other entities. So it makes no sense. I mean, this is long-standing precedent allowing standing for organizations. And that's the reality. Look, we stand stronger together than we do individually. So the idea that I can't go to the NAACP or whomever else to help me advance my cause, which is what historically has happened in this country. The biggest advancements in civil rights have come through coalitions, right? So the idea that an organization cannot bring that on my behalf is hugely problematic. And the other thing I wanted to mention in this case is Galveston County, if I remember reading correctly, is 39% Black and Hispanic. So you're talking a very large proportion of the people in that county who are being disenfranchised. And in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, that is particularly problematic because in the great state of Texas, where I sit, as you know, we have very large populations of minorities, but we have very gerrymandered maps. So the idea that we cannot combine together as disenfranchised groups because the statute doesn't allow it is legally absurd and it is morally bankrupt.
Absolutely. Folks, hold tight 1 second. I got to go to a break. We come back. We'll talk about Vice President Kamala Harris officially being the nominee, the Democratic nominee, after today's virtual roll call. We'll share that for you. We'll also show you how the campaign, they've unveiled their new poster for Vice President Kamala Harris. That's next. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, broadcasting live from Chicago, site the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. Back in a moment.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Think about this. We're days away from an election that could, once again, change the balance of power. Accountability for the January 6th insurrection is still an open question, and all of that against the backdrop of another presidential election looming in 2024. America is at a crossroads. Richard Kreitner, author of Break It Up, joins us again and explains why it could add up to being the end of the republic as we know it.
The Republican Party, the conservative legal movement has been radicalized. So I think there's absolutely no doubt that they would gladly, effectuate such a transition to minority rule under the cover of rule of law.
You won't want to miss this one. The Black Table, only on the Black Star Network.
Coming soon to the Black Star Network.
I still have my NFL contract in my house, having a case. It's 4 of them, for my 4-year contract. I got a $600,000 signing bonus. My base salary for that first year was $150,000. Matter of fact,
$150,000.
$150,000. That's what I made, $150,000. Now think about it. My signing bonus was a forgivable loan, supposedly. When I got traded to the Colts, they made me pay back my signing bonus to them. I had to give them their $600,000 back.
Wow.
Yeah, I was so pissed. Because, I try to be a man of my word. I'm like, you, I'll give you your money back. Even though I know I earned that money, I gave them money back. I gave them $600,000 back. But yet, I was this malcontent. I was a bad guy. I'm about the money. It wasn't about the money. It was about doing right. Because I looked at, because you look at contract. Look at John Elway. God, John Elway was making $1 million, $800,000. I was making $150,000. I was doing everything. And I'm like, but yet I was, I got so many letters, so I just play for free and all that kind of stuff. You don't forget that kind of stuff.
Right.
That stuff is hurtful.
What's up, Geek Tony in the place to be. Got kicked out your mama's university, creator and executive producer of Fat Tuesdays, an air hip-hop comedy. But right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Folks, Vice President Kamala Harris has obtained enough delegates to be the Democratic nominee for president. Today, the Democrat National Convention conducted a virtual roll call to nominate Vice President Kamala Harris. This was done so because to meet the deadlines in many states to be on the ballot. Now, according to Democratic National Committee Chair Jamie Harrison, Harris has secured enough delegates to become the nominee. If she wins in November, Harris will become the first woman ever to serve as president of the United States. She's already the first woman, first African-American, and first woman of South Asian descent to be the vice president. Now, convention delegates have until Monday to complete the virtual roll call process, and she will officially accept the nomination next week. Now, let's talk about what's happening with the campaign. This weekend, Vice President Kamala Harris is interviewing 6 potential vice president nominees and so to be the Democratic nominee. Among them, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Among them, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. Andy Beshear, governor of Kentucky. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Also, you have the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. Those are among the 6 folks that they are looking at. Now, the Harris campaign also announced today some new senior advisors, several people who worked on the Obama campaign. David Plouffe, of course, who ran the Obama campaign, he has been named a top strategist. He is going to be senior advisor for strategy and the states, focusing on the Electoral College. Stephanie Cutter, the deputy campaign manager for Obama's re-election campaign, she's going to be, of course, a senior advisor for strategy messaging. Mitch Stewart, grassroots organizing strategy behind Obama wins, with a senior advisor for battleground states. David Binder, head Obama's public research and operation, will expand his role in the Harris campaign to lead the opinion research operation. Also, if y'all have it now, the Harris campaign has unveiled their poster for the campaign. And again, the focus is very aspirational. We have that. Go ahead and show it. Let's go to our panel, Michael. You look at all these moves. What you're seeing, Vice President Kamala Harris is strengthening her hold on this this campaign.
Absolutely. She's strengthening her hold on the campaign. She's on the campaign trail. She just spoke for Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated this week. I think it was Wednesday. So she's doing campaign trails. Tuesday, she was in Atlanta, 10,000 people. It got huge coverage from it. She's hitting the issues as well. She's speaking to kitchen table issues. She's building the campaign, but also in the hostage deal that was just made, she played an instrumental role in that as well. So you had, I saw on MSNBC a couple weeks ago, you had a panel of white people from Wisconsin, white women from Wisconsin saying, oh, she doesn't do anything. We don't know what she's doing, things like that. Obviously, they don't know how to use Google. Obviously, Google doesn't work on their smartphone. So she's building this campaign. It's been almost 2 weeks. I don't think it's been quite 14 days, and you have $310 million raised. You have this infrastructure that she's putting together, and Donald Trump is scared to death, and he should be, because most criminals are scared of prosecutors. So he's afraid to debate her. So this is fantastic. The energy that's being generated is really unprecedented. The Zoom calls from different groups, different ethnicities, things like this. So this is fantastic. We have, I think, 95 days left. It's go time.
Well, it absolutely is go time. And again, what you're seeing here play out, Matt, really is a very smart, focused effort with how they are driving this thing forward. They have not made any wrong moves in the last 2 weeks. You even have Karl Rove talking about how efficient they have been, and you're seeing the results in the polling data.
Yeah, I can't speak, credibly to the polling data, having not seen it myself. But it's interesting that you say that, because that's what I've been feeling. I really feel like it is their game to lose at this point. I feel like Michael's 100% right. Trump is scared. I think that J.D. Vance pick is backfiring. I think they're finding more and more things where he's having to put his foot in his mouth. He is not helping engender people who are in the middle to come over to that side. So I think they're playing it smart. And I'm really glad you read that list of senior advisors, those are obviously very well seasoned people in presidential politics, and I think it's very smart for them to surround themselves with a team of people who have done this before, who know exactly how it needs to be implemented, and to play up on those strengths. Just the other day, I was talking to a local lawyer here in town, and his father, coincidentally, was a state senator over my area in Austin my whole life, and he's very, very, very big in politics, and he was just over the moon. He was talking about how he's getting 50 text messages a day. Everyone's so excited. The energy is just really like it never was, has not been for the last several months. So I think they're good to capitalize on that energy. And I don't know if you're transitioning to this in the next part of the segment, but I'd like to talk about what I think will happen with the VP pick, if I can do that, unless you want me to wait.
I do want to wait on the VP pick. I want to cover several different things here. Michael, you mentioned earlier the role the vice president played in the hostage release. You've got these Republicans who, first of all, you have people like Congresswoman Nancy Mace, like, where's Biden? Where's Biden? Oh, my God, sick yet. Even idiotic Meghan McCain posted this nonsense. And then, of course, Biden comes out with this big announcement of securing the release of the Wall Street Journal reporter, as well as Paul Whelan, former Marine, in this multi-country prison swap. And they had tasked Vice President Harris with negotiating with the German chancellor on this. This is the kind of stuff that people don't seem to understand. They don't seem to understand the role of diplomacy and what people are doing and what they're involved in. And so this is what real work gets done. And Donald Trump had put in this video saying, oh, they're going to release these prisoners before I get elected because it's all about me. And now they're complaining about the release because they don't want the vice president getting any credit whatsoever.
Absolutely. They don't want the vice president getting any credit. They didn't want Joe Biden getting credit for the border bill. That's why Donald Trump told Republicans in the Senate to kill the border bill, the strongest border bill in 30 years, so he could run on, lie about undocumented immigrants coming in and the level and things like this. It's all about Donald Trump. Donald Trump said that he was the only one who could bring the hostages back. That was brought up. Also, he said he could bring the hostages back. He just said when the deal was made, he said he could bring the hostages back and not have to give up anything. That was brought up at the press conference that Biden had. Biden said, why didn't he do that when he was in office? Because Paul Whelan, who's from Michigan, where I live, Paul Whelan was abducted when Trump was in office. Trump didn't get Paul Whelan back. Okay, so Donald Trump is Putin's puppet once again. So we're seeing here, you have two different styles. Really three different styles, because Vice President Kamala Harris as well. But you have Donald Trump, who yells and screams and beats his chest and wants to be a strong man, but he's really a little 2-year-old boy in a grown man's body, or old grown man's body at that, and doesn't understand diplomacy, doesn't understand foreign policy. The foreign policy press conference that Biden gave at NATO to the press and answered complex questions about foreign policy, Donald Trump could never do anything like that, even if he was reading from a teleprompter, because he doesn't understand foreign policy. So this is an example, the difference between leadership and somebody who just doesn't even really talk a good game. Because if you listen to Donald Trump, he doesn't even make sense. Just like what happened at NABJ. He doesn't make sense. So this is why this election is so extremely, extremely important.
Well, you're absolutely right. He doesn't make sense. He's a perfect example. He's out here whining and complaining. And Matt, it was hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious watching this dude. I mean, talking about, America gave up too much. We gave up too much, too much money. I could have got a hostage back for free. The dude couldn't even congratulate. And if you want to understand how shameful conservatives are, in the statement the Wall Street Journal initially posted, and then there was a statement from the leader of News Corp, the parent company of the Wall Street Journal, they couldn't even bring themselves, Matt, to congratulate the president and the vice. They couldn't even mention their names. You don't get them back without the president and the vice president. That shows you how shameful these conservatives are. They are not about America. They're not about patriotism. They are about party and ideology.
Exactly. They're about party and ideology. And also, they haven't called him to task in the instances where he said disparaging things about the things that are normally their primary, points of pride, i.e. veterans and service members, right? So the idea that you have hostages who are coming back, I don't understand how you don't just reflexively say, this is a good thing. This is what I would continue to do in my administration, but I've got to acknowledge Mr. Biden and Ms. Harris for successfully negotiating this exchange. But frankly, it's not about anybody but Trump. We know that. That's why he's always trying to get the headlines on him, and that's why it's always about name calling and, the lowbrow stuff. And that only goes so far. In the time that the campaign wasn't as energized as it was now, the Sleepy Joe comments and all the disparaging things he said had more legs to him. But now you have a national coalition of people who are very excited about Kamala Harris heading to the White House, and he's not able to stop that train. So I don't know why they wouldn't even just basically congratulate, because to me that seems like the decent thing to do. But we know Donald Trump is not necessarily a bastion of decency, as he shows us with every subsequent comment. So that doesn't surprise me, but I do congratulate the administration for this successful negotiation.
Donald Trump previously talked about not wanting to debate Vice President Kamala Harris. When she was in Atlanta on Wednesday, she was like, yo, say it to my face. September 10th, she says, yo, I'm going to be there for the ABC debate. So he gave an interview where he's talked again about not needing to debate her. Roll it.
Not doing the debate. That's the same thing they'll say now. I mean, right now I say, why should I do a debate? I'm leading in the polls. And everybody knows her. Everybody knows me. She wants to say, oh, Trump's.
Everyone knows him, really? So the Harris campaign released this statement. I love this. Donald Trump needs to man up. He's got no problem spreading lies and hateful garbage at his rallies or in interviews with right-wing commentators, but he apparently is too scared to do it standing across the stage from the Vice President of the United States. Since he talks the talk, he should walk the walk, and as Vice President Harris said earlier this week, say it to her face on September 10th, she'll be there waiting to see if he'll show up. That's the kind of statement I like to hear, Michael. Fire back and smack that ass.
Fire back, smack that ass, call him out, punk him out, tell him show up, because Trump is scared. Trump knows he will be eviscerated by this prosecutor. Criminals are afraid of prosecutors. And what she should do on the debate stage, if he does show up, is bring up the fact he still hasn't released his taxes either. How mainstream media is not talking about that? I don't even understand that. In 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, he still hasn't released his taxes. What type of criminal enterprise are you running, Donald? Oh, I'm sorry, you were found liable for committing fraud with your businesses in the state of New York, and you have to pay a $454 million fine. So this is playing out the way I thought it was, and Donald Trump is being, he's like the emperor that has no clothes, or he's like the wizard in the Wizard of Oz. When they pulled back the curtain, they found it was a little midget manipulating technology to make himself look like he was much bigger and more omnipotent than he actually is. Yeah, so call him out on this. And if at the debate, are they going to have fact checking at this debate rolling September 10th? I can't remember. Are they going to have fact checking?
Well, I hope they do a much better job than what Dana Bash and Jake Tapper did, because they did none.
Absolutely, they did none. You got to have real time fact checking. But Vice President Kamala Harris is a real time fact checker herself. She's not going to let him roll over her. She's going to stop him in his tracks and fact check him and embarrass him as well. So that's going to be must see TV if he's man enough to show up. But I don't think he's man enough. And I don't think he's man enough to show up. I think he's a little punk.
All right, let's talk about the Vice President pick. Matt, you want to say something about that?
Let me first say, as a trial lawyer, he does not want to be on the other side of that stage. Right. Because I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm good at closing arguments and cross-examining people. And as a prosecutor, that's exactly what she is going to do. And the problem is, as I've said on this show many times, a lot of people are going to make their assessment on who the appropriate person is based more on pageantry than policy. And he knows that he's not going to get the benefit of the sound bites and looking like he's the shark in the room when she is there and tears him up. So that's why he's not going to show up to debate. But here's my thought on the VP pick. I think the pick will be Shapiro. I think the campaign is going to determine that the electoral votes from Pennsylvania are just too important to pass up. He is very good on TV and making the cases, and is a very well-liked governor. And Pennsylvania comprises both rural and urban areas. I think they're going to say that's a good microcosm of the country, and that he will be able to make the case across the United States. My personal pick, however, would be Andy Beshear, and the reason is I think he is a beloved governor of a red state in Mitch McConnell country, and I think they can really run heavy on how he has been successful there in Kentucky and can help her be successful to lead the entire nation in the White House. So I think it'll be Shapiro, but I think Beshear would be my pick.
Michael, what do you think?
I think it would be Josh Shapiro as well. He's former state's attorney general. He's brilliant. He's younger as well. He brings an energy with him. He can prosecute the case against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance does not want to debate Josh Shapiro either. And just keep, and for everybody who hasn't really been paying attention to this, the Trump Vance campaign already said that J.D. Vance was not going to debate Kamala Harris as well, okay, for the VP debate. So, and he does not want to debate Josh Shapiro either. So you do have, Tim Walz out of Minnesota. He would be maybe second or third pick. He's good, the governor. He's good. Andy Beshear out of Kentucky, I think, brings a different energy. But my number one pick would be Josh Shapiro. I think that's a winning ticket. And Trump is second. I tell you right now, Trump is regretting that he went with a MAGA rubber stamp like J.D. Vance as vice president.
Well, you know what? I get it. A lot of people are talking about Josh Shapiro. I would not discount Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear or even Pete Buttigieg, because I think one of the reasons that they are being strongly considered is their ability to communicate. And the thing here is the vice president can't be everywhere. And so when you have strong communicators who can make the argument, going on television, doing lots of different media, I think that's what's critically important. And again, you've got some very interesting choices here. The sixth person I forgot to mention earlier was Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. I would say out of the six, in terms of communicators, I'm going to put Pritzker and Kelly at the bottom. I'm going to say in terms of effective communicators, I'm going to have Buttigieg 1, Shapiro 2. I'm going to have Beshear 3, Walz 4. Walz is the governor of Minnesota. I got Pritzker and Kelly at the bottom. What you got, Pritzker, governor of Illinois, he's a billionaire. He can spend his own money. Okay, you got that. I think it's going to be I think with Shapiro, I would not be surprised if he didn't get picked. And I'll say you've got progressives talking about how he wanted to strip the progressive DA, Larry Krasner, of some of his responsibilities. You also have you've got a lot of young voters and Muslim voters. The fact that he's Jewish, you can't ignore that reality. And you also have that sexual harassment story that they say that he helped cover up. You got that going on as well. So, you've got a lot of stuff going on with different people. Obviously, he's a huge pick. The governor of Pennsylvania, very popular. That is a crucial battleground state. But it's going to be one heck of a weekend if you are the Kamala Harris for president team as they go through their vice president picks. Got to go to a break. We come back. I hate talking about Donald Trump, but we're going to talk about what happened on Wednesday, where we knew this on Wednesday because Phil Lewis, my frat brother, posted that Donald Trump was late because he did not want to get a fact check. Now Axios is confirming his reporting about that. I got some issues, NABJ, about this, and so we're going to discuss that next. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Curl Prep Natural Hair Solutions at curlprep.com.
I'm in shock.
for curls, locks, braids, twists, and even those wigs and extensions. Women, men, and children are loving this line. Look at this video and you be the judge. People line up to see this product in action at hair shows, and when they take a seat and try it, they don't believe it's their hair. Buy the products at curlprep.com. It works on all hair types. Use code ROLAND, that's ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount. Parents, remove the ouch. You will love this system because you can comb the product through your child's hair with your fingers. It's all at curlprep.com. Use code ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, on Wednesday, when Donald Trump spoke at NABJ, he came out whining and complaining about the microphones not working, y'all were late, y'all had me waiting 35 minutes, and he was just whining. He was lying. Before it came out, my frat brother, Phil Lewis, showed a photo I just sent y'all. Phil and I took a photo today. I need to show him some love. Phil, this is the photo of Phil. Okay, so I want to show the brother some love. This is the tweet that he posted on Wednesday with regards to why the program was late. It was supposed to start at 12 noon, did not start. He said, "I'm told that Trump is demanding that NABJ not do the live fact checking, and that's why the event hasn't started yet." Well, today, Axios reported this scoop that was the case. If y'all pull up their story. So they claim that backstage, the President Ken Lemon said that the mic issue was resolved quickly, that the Trump people did not want live fact-checking to take place. Lemon was preparing a statement to read as to why Trump basically was going to leave, and then Trump decided to walk out on stage. Lemon confirms this to Axios. Here's my problem. And I've had people come to me, Roland, bruh, do you have to be so hard on NABJ? Yes. Because I believe in transparency. In this case, I believe President Ken Lemon, and I like Ken, I voted for Ken. But in this case, he's failed NABJ. Donald Trump sat on that stage and lied. And they knew he was lying. So they allowed that lie to be stated and to be spread across the nation and the world. And so then you come back and tell Axios what really happened. You don't tell the membership, you tell Axios. I'm not going to let that man sit on stage and basically say, we dealing with CP time here. They 35 minutes late. They ain't got their stuff together. They so weak, they microphones didn't work. That was a lie, and NABJ President Ken Lemon knew it. And what he should have done, the moment Donald Trump lied, he should have said, 1 second, hand me the microphone. He should have said, Donald Trump. He could have called him Mr. Trump if he wanted to. I wouldn't call him Mr. President. He should have said, Donald Trump, as the president of this organization, I cannot allow you to lie to our members or lie to the assembled media or lie to the world. What you just said is a lie. The delay took place because you and your team did not want us to have live fact-checking of your appearance here. You are more than happy. We're more than happy to allow you to give your opinion. But if there's anything that's fake news, it's what you just said. And then he should have went back and sat down. That, for me, I got a problem with that, Matt. I got a problem when you let that man lie and embarrass your organization and you don't correct his ass in real time.
Yeah, I think you've stated it perfectly. I don't know that I have too much to add beyond, I would say that I think we see that often, not even just in the NABJ context, but there is a deference and a diplomacy, a diplomaticness, if you will, paid to blatant dishonesty. And rather than allowing him to say it and then on the back end trying to triage it, you got to cut it off at the pass, like you were saying. Take the mic and say, no, that's not true, particularly when, as he is wont to do, you're playing on racial stereotypes. I mean, as you were saying, it's exactly what I was thinking. It's like he came and said, I'm here with you Negroes, y'all on CP time, couldn't start on time, your microphones ain't working. And that isn't true. What's true is you didn't want to be exposed to the live fact-checking, and you stalled this starting. And it is important that everybody there know that's exactly what it was and not some failing of the membership that makes it look like you did something wrong when you didn't. So I agree with you wholeheartedly.
And again, Michael, I mean, folks like Red Rolling, man, you being too hard on NABJ, you being too hard on the executive director, Drew Berry, you're being too hard on Ken Lemon. No, I'm not. I am a 35-year member of this organization. I have given a lot to this organization. I believe in transparency. I believe in truth. I believe that you stand up and you tell people everything that went down. And I'm sorry, you don't tell Axios something before you tell the membership. They could have sent out an e-blast correcting that. But again, you do not let that man lie on stage and you don't come. First of all, do you know what I'm just saying? The delay was caused because Donald Trump did not want live fact checking.
Right.
And then when he comes out and lies, you don't live fact check him.
Yeah, you know, I read the whole piece today from Axios.com. I saw your post on Instagram on the day of the conference, calling out the lies that the Trump War Room put out, saying that President Trump has been waiting backstage for NABJ to fix their audio issues, and you said that was 100% lie. So I saw that real time when you posted that. And on page 2 of the piece from Axios.com, Ken Lemon says Trump's team eventually asked NABJ not to post the fact-checking on its social media platforms or allow the moderator to disclose that there would be fact-checking. So, you know, there comes a point you have to show some integrity And I know Ken Lemon was saying, okay, there were 2,000 people there. They started lining up for 3 hours. But sometimes you just have to say, you know what? It's better that he doesn't take the stage, because not only did he lie, but he continued to attack African-American female journalists like Rachel Scott, who were just doing their job. Rachel Scott of ABC News, just doing their job and holding him accountable because he really didn't want to answer the questions, just like he didn't want to answer the questions in the June 27th debate. So sometimes it's better not to let somebody like that take the stage. But what Donald Trump wanted is he wanted clips that they could play on Fox News to show him engaging with African Americans. And then they say, oh, they were hostile to him except for Harris Faulkner, who's a token at Fox News. Let's just be honest. OK, she didn't ask any really hard pressing questions. I think the last question was about Project 2025, something like that. So this is really problematic. And I think, you know, I'm not a member of NABJ. I have been to an event, a conference or screening of a movie with Spike Lee a few years ago here in Detroit. They got played with this. This is like really embarrassing. And it's caused a rift in NABJ also.
Yeah, I mean, and again, my problem is you let the man lie.
Yes.
And you didn't correct him. And that to me, you got see, here's the whole deal, Matt, and I think this is the problem. You got a lot of mainstream journalists, they don't want to, no, we can't be confrontational, we can't feel as if, I mean, you got Harris Faulkner, her trifling ass, said yesterday that she felt that Rachel Scott, her opening question was too aggressive and didn't say, glad to have you here, and good afternoon, Mr. Trump, and didn't say, sorry about the assassination attempt 18 days ago, and on and on and on. That ain't her job. They started late. They had finite time. Rachel got right to the questions. That's what you're supposed to do. But I'm just sitting here, I'm like, yo, like these black journalists and other journalists have got to stop this deferential bullshit when you dealing with a bullshit artist. And that's my problem. They want to sit here, no, we can't do that because it's going to look like, we're biased. No. When a person lies, like when they come on this show, if you want to give your opinion, give your opinion. But if your ass lie, I'm going to shut the lie down, set the truth, and then say, go ahead and finish. But I don't understand allowing the lie to stand, and you don't say nothing, even after the thing was over, and he walked off. Man, come on, dog. Man, go ahead.
Again, you said it all. I mean, here's the thing. First,
no. I want you to get your thoughts on. I think too many of these mainstream journalists, are being deferential to him, and not wanting to push, not wanting to aggressively question. It's just, no, he's a Republican nominee, so, what to do these things. You ain't dealing with a normal-ass person.
No.
Right,
I'll take it a step further. I don't think they're just being deferential. I think sometimes they're afraid. And I don't understand why. Because this is a guy who's, what is it, all hat and no, I can't remember the idiom. But in any event.
All hat, no cattle.
I know, all hat, no cattle. I mean, here's the thing. It's all fluff. It's all hot air. So when he gets pressed on it, he's going to fold like a house of cards. And I don't understand why journalists are not harder hitting on him, especially because, correct me if I'm wrong, but journalistic ethics require that, right? You got to get to the truth. You can't disseminate things are dishonest. So especially in a situation like this, because it's always about him and it's always about sound bites and it's always about creating certain impressions. So I don't understand why they didn't take the opportunity to plant the flag here and literally say, we're not going to have this unless you submit to live fact checking, and go out on stage and say, Mr. Trump, however you want to refer to him, does not want to engage in the fact checking. That is something that we are requiring for this event to go on. So it's not going to go on. Because then you have the credibility of saying we're doing it the right way and we're not going to allow him to come out and lie, and we're not going to give him deference and a stage on which to do that. And that to me seems to be like the quintessential journalistic ethic that you're required to use. So I don't understand why they did not push him harder here, and why journalists across the board allow him to lie and don't just cut it off at the pass in every instance where they know it's happening.
And Michael, I am so sick of trifling. For her to sit.
You breaking up, bro.
How?
Okay, so for Harris Faulkner there to just sit there. Now, keep in mind, Harris Faulkner's from Fox News. Fox News was sued for $708. Fox News paid a settlement of $787 million to Dominion Voting Systems for a lawsuit for spreading lies about the 2020 election. So Harris Faulkner did exactly what I thought she would do, and probably why she was there in the first place. Okay, I agree with Roland. There should have been at least one African American man there on stage. Black media should have been involved as well. Black-owned media should have been involved as well. But I encourage people to look at. I have this fact checking from CNN up here on my computer right now. Fact check: Trump's lie that Harris all of a sudden embraced a black identity. Check that out at CNN.com. Not only does he continue to attack African-American female journalists especially, but then he goes and lies on Vice President Kamala Harris in front of a room full of African-Americans. So, we have to be more responsible, I think, when it comes to who we put on stage, who we allow to go on stage in front of African Americans, especially if they don't agree to being fact checked. Sometimes it's better to just walk away. What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
I agree. Correct. I mean, completely. I think that if you're going to be running for president, you got to be willing to, one, be truthful, and two, put yourself in situations where you're willing to be live fact checked. I mean, the fact that you don't want to be live fact checked shows that you're lying. You know what I'm saying? And it's right. A crazy idea that would be the thing that would keep you from going onto the stage to try to get votes for a contingent of people that are inherently suspicious of you, right? You're trying to get more black votes. So you should take the opportunity to go and avail yourself of whatever opportunity to do that, particularly somewhere as esteemed as an NABJ event. So to say I'm not going to go on if you have live fact checking is absurd, especially because if you're not lying in the instances where you misspeak, you just clarify that. You say, I said It was 27, it's really 30.
No.
That's my mistake.
Yeah, he can't do that. he can't do that because he's a liar. But again, see, Rachel Scott has been a professional. She didn't question them lame-ass questions that Harris Faulkner down there asked. She didn't do that. But for Harris to go, she should have. She was just too aggressive, and just now Harris, your sorry ass didn't like the fact that Rachel hit him with the question about his racist attacks on folk. You ain't like, y'all, why are we showing still photos when we got a video? Can y'all help me out? Why are we showing we got video. Why are we showing still photos? Okay, I'm just saying. I mean, you got video, show the damn video. All right. But I'm sitting there like, when she hits him with the question, hey, I just thought that was just too aggressive. No, Harris Faulkner wanted Rachel to kiss his ass. She wanted her to bow down and kiss his feet like Harris does. Well, thank God Rachel Scott ain't lame-ass Harris Faulkner, Michael.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree. But you have some scared people. You have some scared African Americans in media who are afraid to go after Donald Trump like Rachel Scott did. And, the advantage that you have, Roland, is that, you own your stuff. So you can't be fired. You can go as hard as you need to go. Some of the other journalists, you know, I hate to say it, but some of them, it feels like some of them may be compromised, okay, and are afraid to really go there and hold him accountable like he should be. So, you know, I think this was this reminds me of like the guy who gave the commencement address to Florida A&M University, and turned out to be a fraud also, right? And he was the big hemp multimillionaire. He turned out to be a fraud. This is like really, really bad, what happened. But I encourage people to look at the fact checking from CNN.com, look at the fact checking from the New York Times also, because these lies that Donald Trump told, they have to be exposed, and they have to be attached to him, okay? And this is why it was really a big problem with the June 27th debate on CNN when there was no fact checking there, because he told over 30 lies. He told over 30 lies and got away with it, and it's hard to try to put the toothpaste back in the tube after the fact.
Well, I just sit here and just watch this. And again, I'll say this here, and I'm going to close the segment out with this here. Harris Faulkner, keep Rachel Scott's name out your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Go on over there with your Trump-loving network, but keep Rachel Scott's name out your mouth.
Ashe.
Because on that stage, the only person who brought the funk and who was a strong journalist was Rachel Scott of ABC News. And Donald Trump, they ain't fake news. You don't like the fact they don't let your weak ass lie. And with that, we go into a break. Folks, support the work that we do. Join the Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland@RolandSMartin.com. Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance.
We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, yesterday I was at Fallbrook Church in Houston for the final funeral service for Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. She died 2 weeks ago today of pancreatic cancer at the age of 74. Thousands were in attendance. Nearly every member of the Congressional Black Caucus was there. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was there. Reverend Al Sharpton, also Ben Crump. You had You had Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., Stevie Wonder, so many folks who were there at the funeral as well. And so there were funny stories. There were just humorous stories. One of the funny stories was when Singer Donnie McClurkin talked about when he came to town. Sheila Jackson Lee brought him there. Check this out.
I'm not going to talk. But I will say this. I was with Congresswoman in April, and whenever she would call, I would jump through the hoop, and because there was no saying no to her. And when I came in, I was supposed to sing for the Gospel Music Museum at 3 p.m. She picked me up at 11 a.m. And she said, well, before we go there, I just want to stop by someplace. We went to somebody's funeral. And I'm sitting at a funeral with somebody, I don't know them. And as she finished talking, she said, I've got my friend here, Pastor Donnie McClurkin, he's going to sing for you. So I had to get up at a funeral with people I don't know and say, hi, sorry. And then we got in the car, and then we were going to some kind of radio thing. And she said, I just want to stop by a radio thing, and I've got an interview. And I'm here with my friend Donnie McClurkin. He's going to sing for you. Then we stopped by a Seventh-day Adventist church, and they were celebrating the pastor. And I got my friend here, Donnie McClurkin. He's going to sing for you. Then we went all the way out to some place where there were a long way. It's like Gunsmoke Town, and there were a lot of other ethnicities there, and they gathered around her, and she's talking to them and says, and this is my friend Donnie McClurkin, he's going to sing for you. And I'd sang 5 times. Then we went and we stopped by an appreciation banquet for Pastor Pender, and I'd never been there before, and they had an artist there to sing, and she said, this is my friend Donnie McClurkin, he's going to sing for you. Then we went to the museum, the service for the museum, and I sang there, and then when we went to the reception, I think I'm going to eat because we hadn't eaten all day. And while I'm sitting there eating, and Donnie McClurkin's going to sing for us. And by the time I got back to the hotel at 12 midnight, I had the greatest appreciation for Congresswoman. The greatest appreciation. I'm going to sing now. I'm not going to talk. I'm going to sing now.
Former Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner spoke, and now he ain't a preacher, but he bootlegged, but he spoke in a powerful way about his longtime friend.
Thank you so very much. We thought, Elwin, that we would all come and do this together. To the special dignitaries, Elwin, let me just say that it takes a special man to be married to Sheila Jackson Lee. And God chose you to be her husband, and my brother, you have done it well. So I want to congratulate you for a job well done. To Erica and Jason, my parents used to say that the best thing that I can give you is a good name. Your mom has given you a good name. And Erica, you have channeled her spirit, and there's so much of her in you. Jason, she would be proud of what you're doing right now. She was an ambassador with a special assignment. From the local perspective, I want to thank her for standing by North Forest when they were trying to shut North Forest Independent School District down. For the church in Acres Home, Cliffdale, small church, needed a contractor, didn't have the money. She found the contractor. She made the repairs at no cost to the members of that church. Thank you. To Cheryl Ropolo, who doesn't even live in the 18th Congressional District. Her daddy needed medical care. She reached out to Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. She made the call, and her dad was with her for another 7 years. Cheryl Ropolo wants to say thank you. To the homeless man that was on the street, but because she came that person's way, that homeless man is now in his own apartment with the wraparound services. Sheila Jackson Lee, the homeless man, wants to say okay. To the many COVID drives she set up, working right alongside me and others, the thousands of people whose lives have been saved, want to say thank you. And in her final months, when her body was frail, when people needed food and water, Rodney, we were out there. She got out the truck, moving slowly. We said, Sheila, we'll do this. She said, no, brother, no, I'm here. And then when we finished that stop, we said, it's time to go home. She said, brother, I have one more stop to make. We went to a shelter. She got behind the line and served them food and stayed there until we said, that's enough. I'll close with this. Sheila wouldn't take no for an answer. But because she was an ambassador on a special assignment, there was one person she had to yield to. And God said to Sheila, Sheila, your work on this earth is done. You have ran a good race. You fought a good fight. And now it's time, my sister, for you to come right on home. Sheila, I want to thank you on behalf of the local community for bringing the world to the 18th Congressional District. To God be the glory for the good he has done.
Secretary Hillary Clinton talked about their more than 30-year friendship with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee.
And all who are here with us could tell you even more stories about how fearless and tireless she was, stepping up for education, for women's rights and civil rights and voting rights, how she stood strong for health care and comprehensive immigration reform, criminal justice reform. She spent years working to make Juneteenth a federal holiday to memorialize the end of slavery. I remember coming to Houston after Katrina with Bill and Sheila and a young senator who hitched a ride from Illinois, Barack Obama, because Sheila wanted to show us what the generosity of this great city was doing as it took in thousands and thousands of refugees from Louisiana after that horrific storm. She was so proud to represent the people of Houston. She was so proud to wear that cowboy hat. You know, as women in traditionally male halls of power, we found common cause and camaraderie. Here's one example that really sticks in my heart because it was something Sheila and I worked on for years together. When I was in the Senate and she was in the House, we got a call summoning both of us to come meet with Dr. Dorothy Height, Dr. C. Dolores Tucker, E. Faye Williams, and other iconic leaders from the National Congress of Black Women. They said it was time to have a statue of a black woman in the Capitol of the United States. And they knew who it should be, Sojourner Truth. Well, that sounded like an easy yes to Sheila and me. Sojourner Truth, an icon of American history, an abolitionist who had been born into slavery, an activist for the rights of slaves and freed blacks and women. She escaped to freedom with her infant daughter in 1826, and then she went to court to recover her son in 1828, becoming the first black woman to win such a case against a white man. Now, does that remind you of anybody? Sure reminded me of my friend Sheila. And we got to work, and then we faced one delay after another. Years went by. I'd see Sheila, we'd meet for coffee, she'd call me up, she'd go, what are we gonna do? We have to keep doing this, we have to keep making the case. Well, eventually, we were successful. And on a glorious day in 2009, we gathered in the Capitol for the unveiling of the Sojourner Truth statue. Cicely Tyson recited Sojourner Truth's famous speech, "Ain't I a Woman?" Because just as Sheila always did, Sojourner understood that prejudice, inequality anywhere affected all of us, that the causes of women's rights and civil rights were indivisible. She understood that truth and fought for that legacy. And all those years later, I was...
Folks, former President Bill Clinton also had fond memories of their long-time relationship and friendship with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee.
She made it onto the smallest list we kept in the White House when I was there. It was called the Just Say Yes list. No, really. And the first three members I remember being on it were future Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Ted Kennedy, who so helped me, brought a list into every meeting I ever had with him. We could have been talking about, you know, the Middle East. He wanted to know where the sewer money was for some place in Massachusetts. And Barbara Mikulski from Maryland, who was under 5 feet tall and was the champion boxer in terms of getting what she wanted. So pretty soon, Sheila made the list. She was the only freshman on the list, and the Just Say list meant this. Whatever it is they want, sooner or later you're going to do it. So you might as well save the taxpayers the time and money of hassling them over it. It was almost like a tiger had gotten control of your calf. You'd look down and you'd see this huge creature just eating in your leg. And finally, you realized you'd be free if you just took a deep breath and gave in. whatever she wanted was always good. It was good for somebody. It was trying to help somebody. It was, you know, I thought it was great. We do all 30 years stuff, and there she is with President Biden still trying to make Juneteenth the holiday. Something especially important to Texans, as we all know. And through all those years, she did her job, and in the process became a real friend to Hillary and me. And you just heard what Hillary said. I remember when they were trying to run me out of town, Sheila Jackson Lee basically said, "Oh, I like my president all right, but I really love the Constitution, and I don't think I'm going to give it to you."
Folks, the person who gave the eulogy to Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee was Vice President Kamala Harris.
Her heart. As a member of the United States Senate and the Congressional Black Caucus, I had the honor to work directly with Sheila on many issues over the years and to observe firsthand her leadership. And she truly was a force of nature. When it came to her constituents, there was no task too big or too small for the Congresswoman. If it needed to be done, she made sure it was done and done right. When it came to crafting policy, there was no detail too minor or point of order too obscure. If it needed to be understood, the Congresswoman would make sure everyone understood it and understood it well, and used it to the benefit of the people she served. To know her was to marvel at her mastery of the legislative process. We were talking about it backstage. Sheila Jackson Lee was one of the smartest and most strategic legislators in Washington, D.C. And I will say, and we all who have worked with her and had the blessing of work with her know, she was also one of the most unrelenting. As those of us who were her colleagues can attest, there was never a trite or trivial conversation with Sheila Jackson Lee. Now, there were times, I will admit, if I saw her walking down the hall, I would almost want to hide. Because I knew whatever else may be on my mind, Sheila Jackson Lee would require a very serious and specific conversation with you about what she had on her mind. And then she would tell you exactly what she needed you to do to help her get it done. And Sheila Jackson Lee, that was her character. She never lost an opportunity to fight for the people she served. And her fight was born out of love. She had a big, big heart. Very few people have loved the people of Houston more than Sheila Jackson Lee. In the community, she was ubiquitous and omnipresent. Whether it was the funerals and memorial services or the birthday parties or block parties, she celebrated with the people. She mourned with the people. She stood with the people always. And you may not know, but Sheila and Doug, my husband, struck up a fast friendship in recent years. And they did a number of events together, including with the Jewish community here in Houston. Because Sheila, of course, was also a coalition builder. And she fought for everybody, knowing that the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. Yes, she did. And as folks in this city can attest, if you were having trouble getting your VA benefits or your Social Security, or if a family member had an issue with their visa, You called the Congresswoman, even if you did not live in her district. In fact, I suspect she gave nearly every person here her cell phone number at one time or another. And when you called, Sheila Jackson Lee would always find a way to help, even if she needed to get a little creative. As some of you may remember, a number of years ago, the city of Houston faced a budget shortfall, and to save money, decided to close a number of public pools in the middle of an historic heat wave. Well, Sheila Jackson Lee wasn't having that. And so she called around, as the story goes, to business leaders across Houston and convinced them to donate more than $350,000, and those pools then stayed open all summer long. The Congresswoman was a leader for Houston, and she was a national leader. She was a national leader. She touched the lives of people all over our country. As a champion for women's rights, she helped reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act. As a fighter for LGBTQ rights, her support helped repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. As a lifelong advocate for our nation's children, she founded the Congressional Children's Caucus. And as a leader who believed deep...
Folks, one of the last speakers at the funeral yesterday of Sheila Jackson Lee was her son, Jason.
My friend, Mayor Brandon Johnson, or my father, who's an amateur historian in the 3rd Ward. But I know enough to know a little bit of natural history. Human evolution is about one generation exceeding the next, running faster, jumping higher, innovating better. The course of human history is measured in that progress, each generation doing better than the last. Now, that increased capacity hasn't always been linear, but that is how we find ourselves today. And that process plays itself out within families. Parents wish their children to be greater than them. Children wish to inherit the assets from their parents and turn those investments into greater returns. But some of us, Congressman Jackson, know that that's not in the cards for us. And if I had any doubt, after today, it is clear. I will not be greater than the generation before me. And that's okay. Because the bar was set so high that even if I never get there, there is so much greatness I can achieve. People thank us for sharing our mother and our wife with the world. Quiet as it's kept, we didn't have a choice in the matter. But if I did, I would have consented, because I know what that gift has meant to the world. The other thing that I know is that my mother did not measure her greatness in the same way in which we all do. I know this because in her last days, she defied expectations. Her doctor, Dr. Wolf, one of the most renowned cancer doctors in the world, told us that he had seen no one in his practice who had lived as long as she did in the condition in which she lived. And she was in pain and she was suffering, and we said, we know where you're going. It's time to go home. We're trying to figure out what might bring her home. And so we had different luminaries and giants. We put them on the phone so she could hear, so she could receive those flowers before she passed. And I'm so grateful for everyone who picked up the phone. Presidents and kings and queens, giants for a giant. And yet she persisted. And Dr. Wolf told us that sometimes they just can't go in front of those they love the most. So I asked my sister, I said, she loves you too much she can't go while you're here. So she went home, and I left the room. And I came back to the room, and she was still there. And I don't know why, because she had asked me several weeks before if she had been a good mom. And I said, yes, she'd been a good mom. And so I came back in the room, and I remember that conversation. I said, you know what? I'm just going to say it again. Mommy. You were a good mom. And I walked away from the bed. I checked my phone. I turned around, and she was gone. Her greatness, for everything else that it was in her love for her family. And hearing that she had completed that mission, she knew she could go. So, she was great, and she was a giant. But to me, she was mommy.
Again, amazing tribute. If you want to see all of that, we live stream it right here on the Black Star Network. So simply go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin, or go to our Black Star Network app. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
About blackness and what happens in black culture. We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is RolandSMartin.com.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
A video of an LAPD officer punching a black man has blown up on social media. 28-year-old Alexander Mitchell was punched in the jaw by the cop. Watch this.
Oh! I got that on fucking record. I got that on record, too. Get your ass back here. Oh! I got that on record, too. I got that on record, too. Oh! I got that on record, too. 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 I got that on record, t
So you would see him stop?
He just socked him. Wow. He just socked him. Just listen to these niggas, because now you got, you sue the shit out their ass.
I'm finna sue.
I got that shit. Listen to him. Here, go to the car.
Call your
Sue the shit out their ass. Now. Listen to everything they say now. He don't gotta sock him though. He don't gotta sock him though. Watch this. Watch this. Relax. Y'all niggas weird. Yeah, he just socked him in the face. Wrong guy.
So what I'll do?
All right, so did the video show the punch there? Okay, roll it back.
What did I do though?
Oh! Oh! I got that on fucking record. I got that on record too. Did you just sock him?
All right, so you saw there. Now here's the deal. That started as always, a traffic stop. The cops pulled him over for heavily tinted windows. When he was asked to exit the car, he was handcuffed. You saw where he got struck. He was taken to the hospital for medical clearance and later arrested for obstructing and resisting arrest. LAPD issued this statement. The incident is under investigation, and the officer involved has been removed from field duties. His family and activists called for legal action against the unidentified officer, advocating for accountability and justice. Matt, you see that video there, and you see the black officer says nothing to the guy. But here's what I found to be weird there, Matt. Is it just me? And guys, roll the video. So you see the cop that punched him, he's trying to get him handcuffed or whatever. The brother, he's on the radio. It don't look like he's doing nothing to help. I mean, we're just sort of, and again, and the cop, again, punches him in the jaw, and it didn't look like that was a reason to punch him in the jaw. Matt, your thoughts?
I spent 7 hours yesterday in a deposition on a police brutality case. And this would be a case where I would not have to take a deposition because they would be writing me a very fat check, because this is as legally indefensible as any such case I've seen. What officers often tell you is that they are able to use force or what's called, quote, compliance strikes when they're trying to get somebody to be compliant. But here, this is purely sadistic. That's all it is, because one hand is already behind his back. And even if they say he's, quote, resisting by using some force by not allowing them to affect the arrest, this is not the circumstance where it is remotely reasonable. This is a situation where, especially in the Ninth Circuit where California is, I don't suspect the Ninth Circuit will say this is a situation where he should get qualified immunity. This is purely sadistic, and they will say, they should say, that any officer, objectively reasonable officer on the scene, would not think this is a circumstance where they could punch somebody. This isn't he's fighting for his safety, he's trying to protect somebody else, he's trying to save or protect his partner. This is purely malicious. And I think this LA is going to write this gentleman a fat check, as they should. And I'm really glad you mentioned something about the black officer, because the moment I saw this, it not only infuriated me that he punched him, it infuriated me that this other cop didn't do anything, didn't reprimand him, didn't stop him, didn't try to intervene. And there's actually another cause of action that I would bring, and it's called a bystander liability claim. And that's one where a police officer or a government actor sees another actor violating somebody's rights and doesn't intervene. And this is the textbook case for that, because he doesn't even address it. He just goes on trying to effect the arrest as though everything is normal. So I don't think LA has any kind of defense here. I think that they're going to do everything they can to compensate this man, or they should, because a jury's going to pop them, and they should.
Michael, you see this video, and you're like, dude, you're trying to subdue him.
Right.
You hear them saying, calm down, calm down. I've seen other videos where, guys are going around. But here's what I don't understand. And again, I'm not a cop. So they're spinning the guy around and around. If you try to handcuff him, why don't you simply walk over to the car and lean him against the car? Now he can't keep just walking around.
Yeah, I don't know how long that officer who was trying to put the cuffs on him has been an officer, but yeah, you lean him over the car, and the striking him is totally uncalled for as well. But then you have the African American officer who appears not to do anything once he's actually struck. Now, for this police department, okay, the Los Angeles Police Department, I don't know if they have a duty to intervene policy. They may, but if they do have a duty to intervene policy, this looks like a clear violation of it as well. So it seems like a number of things wrong here. But the other thing was, according to the article from independent.co.uk on this case, it was a routine traffic stop, but this surrounded tenant windows, him having tenant windows. So is it?
Yeah, I said that. So I'm like, again, this is the BS you keep seeing. I mean, my goodness, tenant windows.
But is it policy for him to have to be arrested because of tenant windows? It seems like you would just write a ticket for tenant windows. Also, there was somebody who was with a friend of Mitchell's said they just opened the door and snatched him out. There wasn't no reason. He was just sitting in the car. Okay, so hopefully we get to the bottom of this, but the reason why they're giving for arresting him and even the traffic stop doesn't seem reasonable in how this is resulting. I mean, why wouldn't you just write a ticket for a tenant windows or heavily tinted windows, as they claim?
Well, again, and this is the thing we're always talking about, Matt. A lot of these cases, when these cops get in trouble, it's always a basic minor traffic stop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, to give you that example, that was the issue, is the issue in the case I took the deposition on yesterday. My client got tased long after the police officer should have issued a citation for speeding. It was literally a speeding case. And the law in the state of Texas says you cannot be arrested for speeding. The officer can only detain you as long as it's necessary to issue you a citation. So Michael's thought is exactly right. I don't know the law in California, but with the routine traffic stop, it should have only taken a couple minutes for the officer to come up, cite him for the allegedly, too heavy tint or whatever, and release him on his way. But when you have courts routinely applying qualified immunity in absurd ways, including even in the Ninth Circuit, then you have officers who are emboldened to do things as brazen as punching somebody in the face. And this is not the circumstance where I think they'll have any kind of credible compliance strikes situation. Because what they almost always say is when somebody's resisting arrest, they're able to use force to get them to acquiesce to the arrest. But this is not that situation. This is you're having trouble putting handcuffs on him, but he's not, affirmatively trying to hurt anybody. And you punch him in the face because you're frustrated that you can't put the handcuffs on him, which makes this, to me, indefensible. I don't see there being a credible defense here at all.
Well, again, this is the thing we're always talking about, and we keep seeing these things happen over and over and over and over and over again. It just drives me crazy. And guess what? LAPD, taxpayers of Los Angeles, you're going to be writing a check. And I'll keep saying this. These things are never going to change until cops, if they start having to pay some stuff themselves, then their actions are going to be a hell of a lot different. I think that's just the bottom line. All right, y'all, that's it for us. Matt, Michael, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, I am here in Chicago, NABJ. It's been quite a busy time. I'm going to see y'all Monday. I'm going to be live in Rhode Island. Jeffrey Osborne has a Celebrity Golf Classic, so I'm going to be live from there. So I appreciate y'all checking out the show. We've had an amazing week. It's been a busy week. We started in Detroit on Monday, Jalen Rose's golf tournament. Tuesday, covering the Sonia Massey rally here in Chicago. Wednesday, being here. Of course, I had a guest host yesterday because I was attending Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's funeral on Thursday. And so I appreciate all of y'all watching today. Fantastic week. Thanks for all the love. Hey, folks, Support the work that we do. Look, we got some great plans. We won't be traveling across this country, doing some live shows in battleground states. Your financial support, I'm telling y'all, is so crucial. We gotta, listen, we're behind in our annual raise. We're behind about $200,000. So if we can get 1,000 people to contribute this weekend, averaging $50 each, we can begin to cut into that. And so that's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. You get this show. Plus, you get 4 other shows on the Black Star Network. You get the live stuff that we cover, the live streams, all that sort of stuff. What we're doing, y'all, nobody else in Black-owned media is doing. Nobody. So please support our work. Go, please give. Send your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland@RolandSMartin.com. Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available bookstores nationwide. Every Friday, we close the show out by thanking all of our donors. We'll do that right now. I will see y'all on Monday. Have a fabulous weekend. Holla!